everybody. Welcome to the Our Work seminar. We're in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we're going to be talking with College of Agriculture graduate Mayor Robert Kraft and learn just a little bit more about what his job entails.
Hello, Megan.
Hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
My name's Robert Kraft. I actually grew up here. I graduated from Foley High School and went to Auburn. So I'm one of the very few fortunate souls that have lived here my whole life. So I call this my hometown, and because it really is. And so the opportunity to be mayor of your own hometown is a pretty big deal. But my journey from Foley to Auburn was, I grew up on a farm, although it was not a traditional Alabama farm. Matter of fact, it's probably one of the more unique farming opportunities in Alabama. My father grew gladiolas, cut flower gladiolas, grew them outside like you grow corn, and planted for bulbs. And we had two crops. We'd harvest in the spring and the fall. So I got to grow up doing that and enjoyed it very much and learned a lot about agriculture in a different kind of way. But decided ag business was where I wanted to be. So I went to Auburn and studied agribusiness and economics. And so I was able to get exposed, continue to do farm stuff, but also learn more about the business world, because I never really wanted to come back and be a farmer. Gladiola business in the early 70s kind of faded away. It became almost impossible to get the kind of labor necessary. And they were shipping flowers in from South America, and they could grow them cheaper and ship them here than we could grow them here. But I had a farm degree and had a business degree, and I was looking for something to do. So my life really took a great change because of Auburn University. I mean, this is the 60s and 70s, and getting a degree then was pretty much accepted, had to. My father would not have understood if I didn't want to do that. But we didn't have the job opportunities that graduates today from high school can learn a skill, go to work, and make reasonable money. And I did not have that opportunity. And so I went to Auburn for a lot of reasons, but I wanted to learn more, but also wanted to enjoy a college life, to go to college and be able to meet a whole new group of folks and friends. And it was as much that as it was desire to learn of education. You're not that far from being 17, 18, and that thought process is what I'm gonna do with my life. And I want to have some fun along the way too. So, and I want to learn how to make a living. So I went to Auburn for those two reasons, and I'm not going to tell you which one was most important.
So you ended up, you came back to the farm. So tell us about that decision of coming back. And you said that you had to get out of the flower to the business. So walk us through that. How do you make that decision, and what was that like?
Well, I came home in the spring of '74, and I came home and got married, and determined that I was going to try one more year in the spring of '75. I was going to prove my father wrong. I can do this. I can sell the flowers. And so I went through one spring of a spring crop, and I found out he was absolutely right. We couldn't get them cut, couldn't get them shipped, had a heck of a time dealing with all the logistics of it. And so then I packed up my wife and we went back to Auburn, and I was going back to focus more on a business degree. And I got to the point where I got back up there and I rented a trailer and moved in and was ready to go back into agriculture and business, more of a business degree at that point in time, ag business focus, but still business. And I got a call from a local banker and told me that in the area close to where we'd been gladiola farming, there was a guy that owned a small turf farm, was selling turf. He had a mobile home park that he sold mobile homes, and he had turf that he planted around his homes. The guy that started the turf farm passed away, and his widow knew me and knew of me, and she called the banker and said, "Who do you think I could get to run the turf farm?" And the banker knew me well too, and I got the call at Auburn, and I needed if I was interested to come back. So I left, came back home, interviewed, and went through that whole process. And it's interesting where Auburn came involved there, because they had a business plan that they'd been working off of. And I had revenue and expenses and their strategies and their plans and how many acres they had and what limited amount they had they could grow. And so I was able to then take the farm management plan that I learned under Dr. Bell at Auburn, who was just, again, of all the things that I learned there, that plan was very important on leading me how to understand how to get from here to there. So in 1986, they built the Perdita Beach Resort, which was a Hilton resort in Orange Beach. Mm-hmm. And the guy there that was running that for them was looking for a golf course. Well, I grew up playing golf. My father grew golf. We were growing grass for golf courses, and we had the land that he had purchased in Gulf Shores, just north of the Intercoastal here. There was an ideal location, and so why not? And so we're able to put together a plan with 5 different resorts, rental property managers that rented real estate, mm-hmm. and they paid $10,000 a year to be a member, get to book tee times, exclusive tee times on the course for their guest. And they would market it, I would market it, we had a plan. So went forward, built the golf course, and knew we could build it, made the decision to build it, within trying to finance it. Well, really we made one decision that made all that happen, and that was we hired Arnold Palmer to design the golf course. So in going through and dealing with the utility board and the mayor, without Arnold Palmer, no, I'm sorry, we can't run any sewer and water up there. You want it up there, you got to run it yourself. And we'll reimburse you another's tap on. Well, barely was able to borrow the money to build the golf course, period. We'd gone through that whole process. But then, so actually we're able to go to one of the council meetings and say, Mr. Mayor, we've changed our plan. If you will run sewer and water across the Intercoastal, we will bring Arnold Palmer to Gulf Shores, build a golf course, and change the way the golfing world thinks about Gulf Shores forever. He said, you think I could see Mr. Palmer? And it was kind of like we started high-fiving each other under the table in the background, because it was certainly that process, just an amazing opportunity, but amazing learning process. Mm-hmm. Again, Dr. Bell, where are you going? Where do you start? What do you have to have as your main assets? And then how do you get there from here?
It all goes back to that farm management.
It does. It does.
How'd you get started in public service?
Well, I felt like Gulf Shores deserved more than we had. I mean, we were just kind of laid back, let it happen, don't plan anything, let it happen. Great city, great place to grow up. I'm not discounting them, but I had a different vision. I had a different thought process about what we could be. And so I just decided that I cannot sit outside and change things. If I want to change things, I got to get involved. So I ran for city council in 2004 and was elected just before Hurricane Ivan hit. So that's one thing down here, you're going to be involved in politics. You got to be prepared to deal with storms, because we're going to get them. When we get them, we're going to get them and they're bad. So went through Hurricane Ivan. It was on the council for 4 years, and just realized then, sitting in a council seat, you can't change much. You vote on whatever's on the docket to vote on. That if I wanted to be an agent of change, if I wanted to make things different, I had to be mayor. So in 2008, I ran for mayor and was elected mayor in 2008. I was on the council from 2004 to 2008 and was elected mayor in 2008.
So what has been your biggest challenge as mayor?
My biggest challenge as mayor is patience. Things move slow. Things you gotta hang in there. But we're getting there, and I think we all have. And it's not just me. We've got an unbelievable staff here. We've got a great council, and the council that we have, everybody we have a shared vision, and this. I think Grant was the first one that bought me or introduced me to a book when he worked for me on the golf course program, Good to Great, Collins' book, Good to Great. And I read that, and it's another Dr. Bell type story. Yeah. And that I realized then that if you've got everything necessary to be great and you settle for good, shame on you. Well, Gulf Shores was good, but I knew that absolutely we had everything that we had, and every opportunity that we saw, we had everything necessary to be great. and shame on us if we don't be great.
So walk us through a typical day as mayor. What's that look like?
Well, you walk in the door and you wait and see what happens. It's never slow around here, but a typical day, if it's Monday, like today is, we have council meetings every Monday. Every other Monday we vote. We have a community input meeting on Monday, and then the first Monday, the second Monday we vote, the third Monday we do another community meeting with another agenda, and then the fourth meeting we vote. And so we have the opportunity to get our community input, listen, think about it for a week, then vote the week after, and then start all over on another new agenda and another new program. So we have town hall meetings every now and then when we have a specific thing to introduce. We want to talk about vision for the future. We've got a huge vision for the future program, Vision 2025, that we started actually adopted in 2014, but we started in 2012. When we left for church, I left for Christmas rather, not church, Christmas in December of that year. We lived like the 15th of December. I gave everybody a list of things, a list of categories. I want you to go home and I want you to tell me what each of these categories is looking for in Gulf Shores. A family with young kids, what are they looking for? What is their checklist? How does Gulf Shores fit? Do we get an A or an F in their checklist? Somebody wanting to bring a business to town. Want to bring a business to town that needs employees and that wants a place to locate. What's your checklist? A retired couple want to move to town. What's their checklist? So we had a list like that. And so when it all came back in January, everybody presented their list. And out of that list, then this was only to our staff. This is just to the people that sit around this table, our staff meeting where we have our officer in charge and the second in command. So our department head and the one right behind, whoever would sit in that seat if he wasn't here. They come to every meeting like we just had this morning. We talk about the agenda and what's going on. So those are the ones that we gave that to, and then they went out. Then once we gathered all those and we put together, broke it down to a list of like 15 different things that looked like that we could do, that our customer wanted, and that our customer wanted in what we wanted. And so we put that together, and then we started bringing the public in, and they all started doing check marks, and we narrowed it down to 5 things. There were 5 things in 2014 that we felt like we had to have to move forward to be great. And you know, we had to improve our beach area. Our beaches were not where they are today. We needed some alternate, the Intercoastal Waterway, a secondary source of entertainment. So if the beaches were closed, we still have some tourism opportunity. We didn't have anything like that. We're not blessed like Destin, Fort Walton, even Orange Beach. They have back bay areas. All we have is the beach and the Intercoastal Waterway. And that's all we had. Now, so how do we enhance both of those? We didn't have a state park at that time. How do we help the state rebuild the state park? We didn't have a good education program. How do we improve our schools? Medical, we just didn't have hardly anything medical here. We had to go to Foley to an emergency room and an hour trip or more from some of the outskirts of our community. So we wanted to improve all those 5. We improve all those 5, we will have helped our environment, we'll help our economy, and we'll help our quality of life for us living here. And we'll be able to sustainable. So we went to work on all 5 of those, and I'm proud to say it's 2021, and every one of them are in process. The emergency room, the freestanding emergencies department is built. Our city school system is formed. Our beach is redone. We've completely redone our beach. Our State Park Lodge is done and conference center is done. And we're real close to expanding our waterway village area where we've got a secondary coast. Have a place to go. If you can't go here, you can go there. Or while you're staying here, you can go to both. Yeah. And so that's what we did with that. And that is council driven, community supported. And so we've got the whole team working together. And we're really proud of how we've come together, and it has been evident we got the 5 things right, and we're close to getting them all done. So
I guess you come head to head with conflict, right? Because you've got a diverse population of people. How do you deal with that?
Listen and be compassionate, and sometimes you got to give a little, and sometimes I think it's just listening and paying attention and trying to help has proven to be, how you treat people is important, and how that connection of sincere concern. I hear you, I'm listening to you, I understand where you're coming from, but we can't get there from here. We just can't. And I just found that if you approach it on a personal level, and that's what I feel like the way I like to do things.
So talk about tourism, plays a big role in the city life, and talk about that and maybe how you're wanting to change that a little.
Well, it is the lifeblood of this community. Everybody here either works in the tourism industry or works for people that work in the tourism industry. So you're either managing the tourist, or you're an accountant, so to speak, you work for the tourism industry, or you're in some type of maintenance. Everybody works in the tourism industry. We have no other industry here that support the people that live here that work in the tourism industry. So it is all focused on tourism. It is the lifeblood of this community, and it has all the things that we've done is because of the tourism industry. So the focus on taking care of our residents and taking care of the environment are they're all aligned to that. So it's been an unbelievable process, and good people working there that were able to achieve. They believe we had every right to be great, and it is kind of this community is focused on that. We deserve to be great. The only challenge in tourism that we're seeing is the traffic. We've got a small island here. We've got limited ways to get on and off. We really have the Foley Beach Express, which is a toll bridge, and 59, and we can't get people on and off the island, not without being such a congested quality of life deterrent. I mean, your whole life has got to, man, I don't want to go over the bridge because I don't have to come back. I don't have to deal with it twice. But most of the stuff, the shopping, a lot of the shopping is up there. The big grocery store, the Publix is up there. You want to go to the Publix, you got to deal with the traffic. And so that's our biggest challenge right now, is dealing with the traffic. And big storms require evacuation. You got to get people out of here. You will die here. And then so you look at the maps, and the maps are getting so much better, but we calculated that at any given time, there's probably 80,000 automobiles on this island. And that's visitors that are here. If it's a July storm, residents that live here, residents live in Orange Beach, Fort Morgan, that whole area, 80,000 cars. And you got to get in, those cars are what carry people out of here. And we're assuming those cars have to leave because they're cars at homes are visitors that are here. So how many days does it take to get 80,000 cars over the bridge? And theoretically, you can get 80,000 cars off this island in 24 hours. But that means like 3,000 cars have to leave every hour. I mean, somebody's got to be ready to leave the first hour. And nobody leaves on the first hour. That's the reason we're deeply involved in the discussion with the state trying to get a third bridge built right now. And it's evident to me that sits here to try to figure out how you get folks out of town, that it's necessary, it's mandatory that we get more ways to get out. The last 3 storms that we've had, the Michael, Mexico Beach, Ida in New Orleans, and Sally right here, they all blew up by two categories. Like Sally went from a tropical storm to a category 2. Mexico Beach, Michael went from a category 3 to a category 5, disastrous storm. Ida, same thing. It went from like a 2 to a 4. So we're seeing now, because water temperatures are higher, I've worried about global warming and wasn't sure that I believed it or not. It's happening. I mean, the water's getting warm. Now, sea level rise is not as much evident so far, but the water's definitely warmer. And when it gets the water close to shore, they blow up, and we're not going to be out of here. It scares me to death. Of all the things that you have to deal with as mayor of this city, is sitting here during the 3 months of hurricane season. Mm-hmm. These facts are not my facts. Yeah. They're real facts. So I'm hopeful that we got folks listening.
Yeah, hope so. Talk to us about the environment and how that's playing a big role in building the city.
Well, the environment is really important to us, and if we learned anything in the oil spill, it was that when we couldn't use it, we know why we live here. the things that we enjoy here are environmentally related. We knew that our business world was nothing without it, because it's why we live here. It's why people come here. And it's when the oil spill was here and there was oil on our beach and you couldn't eat the fish and you couldn't go swimming, couldn't go fishing, nobody came. Yeah. Nobody came. I mean, when I say that nobody came, I mean nobody came. BP was stuck with picking up the ticket for everybody and reimbursing all of the restaurants that didn't make money, the accommodations didn't make money, and it was clear. Our environment is why we live here. And so we got really focused on that and have then made a lot of huge steps towards that. And let me just say this, I'm going to interrupt real quick and talk about BP for a minute. I mean, everybody's angry at BP for what they did, and I am too. I was so angry when they blew up the well, but the BP that came in and helped us clean up, we were fortunate it was BP. Anyone else would bankrupt the area, their division, and move on. BP didn't, and they paid a lot of money. And they were here, they sent a big crew down here to help us clean up, and they were amazing, because the people that blew up the well, the people that caused the oil to spill, or the greed that went into that at the highest corporal level, because there was a lot of greed involved to try to shortcut, and let's get as much out of there as we can, let's do it as quick as we can. That didn't have anything to do with the people here. The people here were sincere, they care about the environment too, and they came in and they worked hard to help us. So, but the environmental opportunities that they presented us through the Restore Act and through NIFWID, National Fish and Wildlife, NERDA, the National Resources Damages Assessment, we were able to get funds to take and make areas forever wild, environmentally sensitive areas that make them forever wild, because a lot of them had development areas around it, and that development would bleed into the environment negatively, in our opinion. So we were able to buy 2 large parcels of land and make them forever wild. We were able to get grants for 2 different projects. One of them is we've got a little lagoon here between the land and the Gulf of Mexico that has septic tanks that are still, in some areas, some of the older ones are still leaking some residue into the lagoon, which is not good for anybody. Us swimming in there are the fish that live there. So we were able to get a grant to clean that up, and we're just getting started on that to go ahead and replace some vegetation, shoreline vegetation, get that secure, and then we'll be able to start taking people off septic tanks and put them onto city sewer. And that gets all of that out of there. So those are 2 big things, but the most important thing we're able to do is get enough money to build a John Michel Cousteau and Ambassadors of the Environment program. And that is a design program to take school kids and put them in a camp program and teach them about the environment, how fragile it is and what we do that can harm it, and how irreparable it is. When it's gone, it's gone.
Can you talk about the Auburn University Education Center? Did you have a role in that?
On the Veterinary Service Center? I sure did. Obviously, we've been looking for, and if you look at that map behind you, you'll see the 200 acres where we're building our new high school campus. And we initially thought about that, not building sports centers, because we got a great sportsplex, but it's not on campus. And we thought that how great it would be if we could find a way to get Auburn to have some type of thing on campus. And getting Auburn here, again, it goes back to your reputation is enhanced by who works with you. If you got DuPont building something here, now you're thinking about at a top level of that level. If you've got NASA doing something here, you think about NASA. You got Cousteau, you think about Cousteau. We got Auburn here. And that's a branding component that's really important to me, because it's my relationship with Auburn. But I still think that we fit really well in that because of all the things that we do. And we really are in a rural agricultural part of this county. You get over that bridge into Gulf Shores, you're not in agriculture anymore, but we're still surrounded by a lot of farmland, a lot of ag programs. So the Auburn fit here was a great reputational enhancement. I love the association, but it was also good for Auburn. And we knew we had something we could do here that would give us an opportunity maybe to do more.
So I know they have the veterinarian services in there. What else is in there?
Well, Megan, the Auburn Educational Complex built up here is got a veterinary surgical center right now focused on small animals. We've got a plant diagnosis area. We're also dealing with the airport and unmanned airport, the drone program that Auburn's so good at, and we're dealing with Jack Edwards International Airport program to be able to do some training of that and continue to engage that in our community. I know that agriculture, you use a lot of drones now to map all your farmland and keep up with everything that you're doing. So we're excited about everything that they're doing out there, and I think the sky's the limit. I know that they've got plans beyond that. Can't wait to hear what they are.
Yeah, cool. How do you, what advice do you have like for students that maybe want to go into public service?
Spend some time at your local government. Come over here, hang out. I mean, we are prone to have. I've had a couple of kids come over here and want to follow me around and just kind of trail me and let me mentor them a little bit on what we need to do. And we'd welcome more. If you're interested in this, the best place to learn how government works, hang around over here. We have meetings that are not open to the public, but we will let any one of those young people, either one male or female, who want to come and listen, they can come and they can get involved in the internal workings of what we have to deal with and what are the legal opportunities, what our ordinance say that we can do, and how do we make a good decision. And if we can't do something that's important because the rules don't allow it, then how do we approach that? What's important enough that we have to change an ordinance? Because the world changes and we've got to do things differently. So I would encourage them to get involved. You're not going to learn that out of a book. See if you can discuss it with your local government. And if you live in a small town, I think you'll have if you live in a big city, you may. But see if you can't get involved, at least coming to some of their committee meetings or listening to the process, because it's different than you would think. And it's not as easy as it looks.
Why do you think it's important for specifically an agriculture student or even someone in the industry to be involved in local government?
Because rules and regulations and permits to do things are subject to the governmental concerns, and there are a lot of things that again, you look at the environmental issues, and we have to deal with agricultural runoff. And so the agricultural runoff and the toxicity that's created goes back to the agriculture that's creating it. So how do you deal with that? And it could be something that you're not allowed to do because and you can't farm without it. Then you got to be involved, and you got to get deeply involved, and you got to get some of your ag or industry to help you prevent something bad from it. You won't know it's happening until all of a sudden it is. But runoff and pollution is a big deal, and the ag chemicals that they use, I mean, what I used when I was back farming, you can't even buy anymore. Yeah. And thank goodness for that. So, but yeah, I think the government is got its hands in everything, and if you're a farmer, you need to know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, the most rewarding part of sitting in my chair or being involved in local government is to protect things that are important, help people that need help, truly need help, do things for people and do things for the world that you love. I mean, if you're in your local government, you're part of the local, because you can't run for councilman or mayor if you don't live here. So if you live here and you care about where you live, getting involved and being able to do something to enhance it. If you create the questions, then you know what answers you're trying to get. And we create the questions. The community gives us the answers. So getting involved in asking questions you want to be asked, or suggesting ideas you want to suggest, being involved allows you to do that. And it doesn't mean you have to run for government. That means you just got to come to the meetings and make your thoughts known and talk to your friends. And if you get 4 or 5 people to walk in there together saying the same thing and it makes sense and it doesn't hurt somebody, that's what you gain out of it. And you create a better place to live, a better place for your kids to live. And you can change your world for the better. You can get involved and maybe stop things that you think will make it worse. But you can't do that if you're sitting at home.